I'm a little bit I'm a little bit shocked by the time. I'm not going to lie. Um, so apologies today. Yo, a lot of information to share about the family office. Anyway, this is time for the VIP session for day 3, and I just want to that I'm not going to be giving you any financial advice, and neither are any of our partners. But I do want to share with you some gifts. So what I wanted to start with was what I promised you. Now, there's no ways I'm giving this away for free, because this is actually, funny enough, one of our wealth hackers put this together for us originally, and he did about, I don't know, 70 or 80% of the work. And then I completed it myself because I was quite interested in it. So I wanted to basically have a table where I could have everything all in one place. And so what's interesting is that if you look here, it's got the asset class, it's got the sub-asset class, it's got the cash on cash, which is the income return. It's got the cash timeline. So like, what is the kind of the regularity of, Alex, if you need to go for it, dude. The regularity of like when payments are made, it's how long your capital is tied up for on average, and it's also what your IRR is, which is your total return. So just before I go any further, does that make sense? The how many columns are there? 6 columns. So you got your asset class, your sub-asset class, your income, your timing of income, how long your capital's tied up for, and then your total return. Make sense? Yes? No? Yes, yes. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all of the detail, but you can see here, you got your sub-asset class, you got all the different types of property classes, you've got when they, what sort of cash flow they can expect, when they pay out, how long the capital's tied up for, and then what the total IRR is. Then you got debt. You got the different types of debt options. You got precious metals. You got commodities, collectibles, crypto. You've got cash and cash equivalents. You've got equities and securities. You've got structured notes, derivatives, and private equity. And you can see, like here, cash on cash, like there is none. Because it doesn't have any cash on cash in terms of the process. So just imagine, who would like this tool? So I know we talk about this again on Friday under timing, but it came up today in that PowerPoint, and I just thought I'd let you know. So I'll share this with you in the VIP group, in the WhatsApp group, so that you guys have it. I think it's a great little cheat sheet. It's obviously not 100% accurate. Nothing is ever 100% accurate if you're just doing an overall table. But this for me is the power of community. It's 2 things. It's the power of community. So Eugene was the gentleman from the Wealth Hackers that actually originally put it together. It didn't even occur to me, but he was the one that went and did it. But then he hadn't finished it, and he also hadn't put in the IRR and stuff like that. So I then went and used ChatGPT, believe it or not. And I was like, right, well, how else do you find this information? So I went to ChatGPT, every single asset class, and wherever there were gaps or anything that wasn't there, so it's the best information according to ChatGPT. But at least it gives you an overall template and table for everything in one. Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to talk a little bit, I don't want to talk, I want to answer questions around anything with regards to today. So it's a lot of information. I fully acknowledge that it's a lot, and particularly the people in our mastermind, they would say to you, we go over these things over and over again. Remember, I started on Monday where I showed you that graph and I said repetition's the mother of skill. So if this is the first time you're hearing it, like, don't worry about it. I always remember, you might not have heard me tell the story, but with Dr. Hunt Estrella, I was going to present his presentation in London, and he was going to train me. And when he did it the first time, I listened. I was like, cool, I got it all. I can do this easily. And then the next time he was like, no, you don't quite have it. Like, just sit in. And the next time I listened, I was like, oh, wow, I only picked up about 50% of that presentation. And then when I listened the next time, I was like, oh, wow, I only picked up about 60%. And the next time about 70%, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a huge amount of power in repetition, which is why for me, why being part of either the Wealth Hackers or the Mastermind is so valuable, because then you've got the ability to go over it again and again. You can literally go and watch it again. You can go and, as an example, if I was to go back here, and I'm just showing my screen quickly, and I go to the 6 pillars of wealth. I mean, there's the presentation there, and you can literally go and watch the 6 pillars of wealth. And there's the, there's the PDF, so you can download the PDF, etc. So I'm just giving you an example of, how this works in terms of the repetition. But this is not my time to talk for an hour. This is my time to help. So what can I help with? What didn't make sense? Is there anything that's bugging you that you would like help with? Any questions? Either just raise your hand or type in the chat box. I don't mind, whatever way works for you. I'll just see if Alex put any questions in here. Nope, there were none that came through from the session today. So what can I help with? I'm conscious of the time. I'm conscious of the fact that today's been a longer day. It's quite hard for me with the recordings because there's no way to speed them up. It's like, it is what it is. It's like, if you want to listen to the recording, great. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I do think there's massive value in listening to Niels and people that have actually been through it themselves, So, okay, what's the entry criteria for the various options on Private Wealth Global, like a minimum amount available to invest? So, Duracen, it's a good question. So the Mastermind members have access both to Wealth Migrate, where the minimum investment is $10. So, you can literally get started from $10. They've also got access to Private Wealth Global, which is the private banking solution. And there, the minimum investment is $50,000. So they've got access to both. And what we find, just so that you know, the back-end technology, the wallet infrastructure, and everything is all the same. So whether you invest through Wealth Migrate or Private Wealth Global, it's all held in the same portfolio. And so what you find is that some Mastermind members might make their initial investment using Private Wealth Global, and they might put down, let's call it $50,000. And then some of their subsequent investments they make in Wealth Migrate because they're just getting their dividends or distributions, and they want to be able to, invest in terms of that process. But there's no barrier to entry, in terms of for clients, basically. We've removed barriers to entry. Well, unless you consider $10 a barrier to entry. Shona found today a bit more driven to recruit Mastermind members. Yep, no, 100%. So if you take how we did it, because what happens, Shona, when we take people through the process is that we basically are saying to people, look, we've got, again, I'm going to use the analogy I used already, but it's an airplane. So the airplane's flying from Sydney to London. And on this airplane, you can sit in economy class, which is our passive income challenge. You can sit in business class, which is our wealth hackers, or you can come sit in first class, which is our mastermind. And we have people all the time asking us what's the difference between them. So today was explaining what that's about. But also, I think it's a very good intuition or perspective you're providing, Shona, because if we take the family office and everything we discussed at the family office, that's only available to the Mastermind members. So I was just trying to join the dots for people to say, hey, look, if you want private access to these people, then you need to be part of the Mastermind. So that was the logic, What we do and where Garth and I are aligned and where he gives me permission with this is that, I was joking with Anthony today and I said, oh, you're still on leave? Are you having a nice holiday? And he said, yes. And I said, oh, well, you live on stage. And he was like, what? And he had a panic attack because he thought he had to come and present. And why I'm telling the story is that Garth and I are aligned because if you heard in that video, Garth said, let's democratize access, not just to the top 1%, but not even to the next 5%, but even to the next 20, 30%. And for us, that's the logic of wealth hackers. So the reason the wealth hacker library of courses keeps growing is whenever we do a live event at a mastermind level and we think, wow, that was a real value, we cut it into like a course and then we put it into the wealth hackers. So obviously the wealth hackers don't get to be there live and ask questions and be part of the overall process, but they do get to still get access to the content, if that makes sense. Does that, Shona, does that make sense in terms of, yep, and you've already got wealth hackers, so you're part of the mastermind. So I always joke with people: if you're flying first class on the airplane, you're allowed to go to the toilets in economy, but economy is not allowed to go to first class and get champagne. So you can have everything that's on the airplane. In terms of, sorry,
I've never had champagne.
anyway, just
But I go to whatever toilet I want.
it's my I don't know, it's a terrible metaphor, but it's my way of having a bit of fun. Again, Natasha said, what is the cost and time and commitment for the diversification application? There is no cost. So you go to that link, diversificationmastermind.com. You set up a call with Alex or myself. It takes about 30 minutes. We literally just sit down. We understand where you're at. What are you trying to achieve? What we're trying to look for, Natasha, is a like-minded fit. So what I mean by that is, like, what are you trying to achieve? What are your outcomes? What are your problems? What do we offer? So I'll give you a good example. If someone comes to me and they says, listen, Scott, I love crypto trading and I want you to help me do crypto trading. I'm like, that's fantastic. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what we do. So it's about aligning people so that we're aligned in terms of that process. So that's very, very important for us. Another good example is people come and they say, hey, I like to do fix and flips. So in property, it's called fix and flips, which is where you go buy houses, renovate them, etc. And I'm like, that's great. But again, that's not what we do. So our mastermind is about passive income and building globally diversified passive income and portfolio growth. So it's just making sure that we're aligned in terms of that process. But I would just say to people, don't, what's the word called? Don't I can't think of the right word now, but don't not like go and have the call because you don't think you qualify or whatever. It's not, we're just normal people, like at the mastermind level. We've had and our most important thing is actually finding like-minded people. I'll be frank with you, when we're having the one-to-one call, it's more about finding like-minded people and seeing if our energy is aligned. I know, Shona, I've had this conversation where it's like, and I'm only telling the VIP members, I wouldn't say this publicly, but it just, there's some people that are so clever you can't help them. I know none of you have ever met one of those people, but you know what I'm trying to say. And so we just trying to look for those people because we don't want to not be able to help them, like in simple terms. So look, it's a community. It's a really important concept. It's a community, and we're only as good as the community. So you're constantly trying to make sure that you're getting the right type of people. And the advantage to that is when we go away and we do the wealth weekends and we have the live sessions, people are like, wow, there's such an amazing group of people. And I'm like, I know, and I'm not being arrogant about it. It's taken a lot of hard work to curate that community in terms of the process. Yes, Debbie?
Hi. Okay, so I've got two questions. The first one is from not being the cleverest person at all when it comes to any of this. So I get a little bit confused. So obviously being South African, and I've realized that you got the depreciation of the rand and at the same time inflation. So if, say, for example, your investment is paying 10%, then do you, for South Africa, then look at the 6% depreciation and then you're left with 4% and then see if you've beaten inflation?
No, I'd do it the other way. I'd be getting 10% in US dollars plus 6%, so you're getting 60%.
No, I know you'll be doing it. I'm saying that as my investments that are in South Africa.
Oh, yes.
I'm looking at, say I've got R1 million invested and it's earning 10%, but now it's 5 years later. So I've got to look at what over 5 years my money has depreciated first. That should be on average 6%. So I've lost that 6% of the million. And then I've got to look at then what's left, the 4%. Have I beaten South Africa's inflation over the 5 years? And maybe I haven't, which means I've actually got less money than what I started with.
Yeah, you've hit the nail right on the head. And that's why it's very important to compare apples with apples. So again, that let me just show you the slide I'm referring to here. So this was a gentleman, he was based out of South Africa. I'm not bad mouthing people, I'm not interested in that conversation, but his money was sitting in Alan Gray, and he had $12,000, the equivalent to $12,000 in Alan Gray. He was getting 7%. So can you see my little mouse here? Yeah. He was getting 7% in rands. So I didn't even bother taking into account the rand devaluation. And I said, look, you should be getting closer to 14% in, even if we just compare like for like. We should have taken that 7 and we should have actually reduced it because he was getting that in rands, not in dollars.
So he was actually getting 7% less the depreciation. So he actually made 2%.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you take all the broker fees, which is 2.5%. So he's actually paid in. So I've just retired, so to speak, or 55. So my pensions and everything, and also with Alan Gray. And when I see now what I've been presented with, I was so shocked. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. So just being completely, like one of the chaps said in your talks, we're not financial people. So we know what we do, but we don't know this world. It's a completely, which leads me to my next question.
Sorry, can I just, before you go to your question, I just want to comment on what you just said. I think that's what Alan was trying to say yesterday. Do you remember I don't know if you were here yesterday when Alan said, he spent a lot of time. I don't know if Alan's with us today, but he said, I've spent a lot of time. I've looked at all these things. Why are we not taught this? Why are they not offering it? And I can't answer that for you either, except for the fact that by keeping everyone ignorant, you can charge as many fees as you want. That's my opinion on this. And what more and more people are starting to do, whether it's Ann Wilson or ourselves, and there's lots of others, are waking people up to actually this bloody scheme needs to stop, and that it's actually your money that needs to be looked after first. Oh
no. So I mean, it's just one of those things which I absolutely love what you're doing in educating people like me, the masses, that actually are not going to be, luckily for me, I know you and it will be part of your programs, but it's heartbreaking when you think of what's happening in our country. Anyway, so moving to my next question, not knowing, so I'm finding my brain is zinging because there's words, and I mean, it's just so nice to understand. When people talk in business communities, it's like these codes and you don't know what they're talking about. So what the one chap earlier today was saying, how it's so nice just to learn the language. And I did Crystal Circle with Roger as well. And I found that my biggest challenge was he spoke a completely different language. And I don't think I got the value that I should have in the beginning because I didn't understand the language. So I've just joined your Wealth Hackers. I'm just thinking maybe it might be a good fit and your feedback to learn the language, spend some time learning all of that, and then maybe towards the end of the year, then join your masters where I actually might at least understand the conversations in the room so I get maximum benefit.
Yeah, Debbie, that's a difficult question to answer, particularly publicly. I would strongly recommend that you sit down with myself or Alex and we talk that through one-to-one. I tell you why, because there's two ways of looking at it. There's that argument, and then there's the complete other side of the fence, which is pretty much exactly what Neil said today, if you remember, where he actually came, he came on what you guys are doing now about I stand to be corrected now, but it was like in June time, and he sort of joined the mastermind in like August, like it was like 2 or 3 months later. And the point being is that being around the environment and within I'm talking the mastermind environment, we're talking about this on a monthly basis. We have group sessions, we have fireside chats, etc. So it's not. I completely understand what you're saying with Roger, as you know, as part of Crystal Circle as well. So and but the only way to learn a language, okay, and by the way, I'm useless at learning languages, but the best way to learn Mandarin is to go to China and hang around Chinese people. Like, does it make sense? So I think the important part here is I would have a one-to-one actually, just to talk.
I'll go on with Alex on Saturday, so I'll bring it up with him.
Okay, because I think that and the second thing is that what we try and do, whether it's in the Wealth Hacker community, which is more of a digital online thing, or whether it's the mastermind, which is a physical like we're doing now, is just ask any questions that you got, and that goes for everyone that's here. If there's any terms or terminologies that people don't understand, what I try and do, when you go through Asset Mastery, you'll see what I mean. Because quite often the partners talk in bloody convoluted language, like Gary did yesterday even. It's like they just chuck stuff out, cap rates and this and that, on the assumption that everyone in the room knows what a cap rate is. And then I try and jump in and I always try and like dumb it down. Like, no, okay, do you know what a cap rate is? Okay, that's what it means. So I'm always trying to do that. But I know I'm repeating myself here, but we chose to make sure that we empower people versus pull everyone down. Because our problem is if we pull you down, they're still going to talk the language, and then
I get it.
Going to be like, not be able to participate,
Yeah. No, well, it's awesome. Thank you very much.
No, it's pleasure. But yeah, thanks for the question. And I think as I said, just to repeat for everyone, it goes without saying, I love that. I don't remember who I first heard it from, but the stupidest question is the one unasked. So, I always say to anyone, no matter how silly you think the question is, please ask it, because I guarantee someone else is thinking it. Cool. Okay, so sorry, I'm just trying to go back here quickly. So Dursin, should we attempt to book a mastermind if we don't have 50 to invest? Yes, you can. Like I said to you, the one gentleman started with 12. In fact, you guys, you'll see him on Friday. Derek, who's a farmer, he literally started with 1,000. So it's not about the quantum of money. It's about where you want to get to and what level of support you want to be able to get to achieve that. Oh, nice one. We did another 3 small investments on Migrate today. So well done. That's super exciting. So well done to you guys. That's brilliant, man. Super proud of you. It's amazing. I always laugh when I see that. Like it's so, like, to my son, it's like so blasé. I mean, to you, Kai, it's like so blasé. Oh, I'll just invest in 3 different things. 10 years ago, you would been flying for 6 months with me to England and then to America and then to Australia. It's like unbelievable. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that gets the appreciation because I know what it took to do it in the original thing. Okay. Okay, no worries, Heather. There doesn't appear to be slots for the discovery call for 2025. Dursin, I'll sort that out with Alex. It might just be full. I'll just ask him to open up some new slots, etc. I'll send him a message. I know he's on a call right now. But I'll make sure that I just send him a message about that. We do just so that you know, and again, VIP is where I tell the truth. We don't book. We found that if we give slots more than a couple of days out, people don't turn up, so they forget about it. So we've learned the hard way that if we give you 3 weeks worth of slots and then people book it, because there's nothing. I'm sorry to be direct, but there's nothing that pisses me off more than when I turn up for a meeting and I'm ready to go and it's 10:30. And nothing happens, and it gets to 10:35 and nothing happens. Like, by then your application, you're on like 90% failed already. Like you haven't like, so like, no, but just on a serious note, everyone's time is very valuable. So it's just things we've tried to do just to try and set ourselves up for success. But yeah, I'll definitely, I mean, I know we still got 2 more days of the challenge, so I'll make sure with Alex we resolve that in terms of, are there any questions? There's a question that comes up all the time that I did try and answer already in the recording, but I want to make sure that it gets understood here, which is where people say, yeah, but if the family office is so good, why would they be working with us? Like, so literally at our wealth weekend, someone asked that question. And it's interesting because I got Garth to answer it at the wealth weekend. And the reason they work with us is 3 reasons. The first is that we're aligned in terms of big picture. So one of the biggest things I've learned in life is work with partners where you're aligned. So what I mean by that, some people are all about profit and then we wouldn't be aligned, whereas we are profit and purpose. So what I mean by that is we both want to democratize access. It shouldn't just be the realms of the top 1% of the top 1%. It should be available and democratized. So that's the first thing where we're very aligned. The second thing is that there's a synergetic value. So before we started the mastermind 2.5 years ago, their family office was very offline, very manual. Like they literally ran their clients, on a spreadsheet like this. And when they had one-to-one calls, they got in a car and they drove off to Pofadder and they had their one-to-one call. And then, Anthony would have to say the same thing 60 times. It's literally like, this is the market update and we do it like this and this and this. I was like, dude, that's ridiculous. Like, why don't we just do one webinar and get everyone in one room and we repeat the one thing you need to say 60 times? And they were like, I'm not going to lie to you. They were like, what? Can you do that? I was like, yes. So what we've done, where the value add is we've used technology to democratize access to their knowledge and their partners. Does that make sense? So that's where the synergy side comes. And the third thing, and I mean, it's important to talk dollars and cents. Like, if you take 10 people or 100 people with a medium amount of money and you put them all together, it's a lot more money than a few very high net worth investors. Do you understand the point? So just pure maths, because they've learned how to democratize now using technology, so they don't need to hire more people to help look after us. But actually, we've helped grow their assets under management quite significantly as well. So it's important to understand this, because they're not Mother Teresa, but by working together and using technology, we've created that symbiotic relationship. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's just I like to just deal with the elephant in the room. So in terms of that process. Yeah, Shona?
Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, sort of, can you give us an example of the fees they charge? I know Mastermind get 50% off, but what sort of amounts should we expect to have to pay?
So there's no additional fees, and then if they
okay.
There's no fees for consultation or where they talk, like that's what so the one thing I hate in the financial industry, and I guarantee you virtually everyone here has experienced it, is like, hi, how much does this cost? $10. Cool, I'll buy it for $10. And then you pay your $10, like, oh wait, sorry, but you need this, and this, and actually it ends up costing you $30. It drives me bananas. Like, I'll buy a trust in Guernsey and it costs me, I'm just making it up now, $5,000. But it ends up costing me $15,000 because all the shit they didn't tell me I actually needed. So we don't do that at a mastermind level. We've been very clear, it's upfront, black and white. We know what we're getting. The one part is that if they do manage so if they take some of your assets and manage it, then they charge a 1% assets under management fee, which is the discount that you're referring to. But it's not an additional cost. It's based on results, So yeah, there's no surprises. I know Alan's online, and him and I and Alex have had this conversation multiple times. I have a massive disdain, if you haven't picked up already, for the whole industry at large, and there's fees on top of fees and then costs and everything else. So we've tried our absolute best to keep it clean, to keep it completely, like in Wealth Migrate, it's completely transparent what happens, when it happens, so the people know what they're getting. Cool. Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it's why we're going to take over the world. I'm joking. Debbie, you'll be interested. I reached out to Roger last year, and a couple of times I didn't hear anything from him. And I was like, wow, I wonder, if I got on the naughty list or something. Anyway, he sent me a message like 3 days ago. And it's like, hey, what are you up to? We should connect. So I'm actually trying to talk to him. I suggested either tomorrow or Friday. He's in Bali, so we've got to connect on time zones. But anyway, just a blast from the past with Crystal Circle. You're all here because of Crystal Circle, by the way, every single one of you. Because if I hadn't done Crystal Circle, I wouldn't have known the power of Mastermind. If I didn't know that, we wouldn't be here. So,
well, it's so interesting, but literally this last week. So last week I started my financial planning, and now that I'm 55, I plan to, my 10-year plan. And I was bringing out all my Roger notes and thinking, oh gosh, I wonder where he is, what he's up to. Maybe I should go and do Crystal Circle again and get back into the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'll let you go. I've literally told him.
Ask him what his offer, and transparency. With him. Okay, cool.
Cool, awesome. Right. Yeah, thanks, Natasha. We have actually looked at it. So we have brought a lady on board. She was part of our team a couple of years ago, and then she left us, and we've managed to convince her to rejoin us. So her name is Shanika, and some of you might have met her already. She only joined in December again. And so what Natasha said, sending an email prior to meetings, all that. So for those of you that have kind of done stuff since December, you'll see that Shanika follows up. How are you doing? Chats, checks in. And she's going to be a big part of the support team with Alex around the mastermind and being able to hold hands. I know Alan gave us great feedback in terms of some of his challenges, just with the onboarding process and whatever. So what we do is we take constructive feedback very seriously, and then we look for ways to solve it. Does that make sense? So I agree with you, Natasha, in terms of that. Transparency is valuable in building trust, so very valuable. Yeah, no, we try our best. And Crystal Circle, it's a long story. it's a whole other conversation. Let me chat to Roger first before I even try to explain what it's all about. But in simple terms, Shona, it was a business mastermind about growing your business. And Roger had a big impact to play in helping me grow this business. So yeah, I was part of it for about 10 years actually. But then they listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and all hell broke loose. And I have to say, I've spent quite a lot of my life wanting to list my company until Roger did it, and now I've got zero desire, like none. It's between Richard Branson and Roger. I'm like, nope, listings off the cards. It's not happening. So anyway, yeah. No, and I think that's the point. If there are challenges, I mean, we're a human business, so there will be challenges, and if there are, let us know and let us know how to fix them. I know, as an example, you and I had that chat, and it was like, hey, do you want to chat to Simon? No problem. Like, what I tend to try and joke with people is that we're a digital platform, but we try to have a human heart. So it's quite important to do that. I don't know how we do that at scale. I don't know how we do that one day when there's 1 million people investing $10. It's going to be a lot harder. ChatGPT, here we come. But certainly for now, everyone gets benefit from human interaction. So yeah.
Scott,
yes, Alan.
Tell me, I love that question from that lady about Alan Gray. I could keep you entertained for as long as you've been speaking today. Is it not possible for you to take an example like, say, where I've been investing, put it on, I have to say where it comes from, ABCD, and train people what's going on in the world in investing?
I think it's a very good idea.
And identify the abuse that is there, that because we don't know, as that lady summed up everything I've been trying to say to you for months, and she'll get a shock. I hope she's still on. She better move all her stuff. But is there not to take an example, put a couple of practical examples of what's going on and where we've been eaten and why you've got to move and that type of stuff?
Yeah, I think
you'd get this very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. I think I'm going to reach out to Anthony. I think that could actually be a very powerful webinar, if you want to call it that, where we take kind of 3 or 4 products and we do comparisons and we look at like the fee structure today and then what impact that has over a 5 to 10 year view. So yeah, I think I think it's a brilliant idea. Let me just speak to him, because I would need his guidance. I need both. I can't just do it on my own. I want to tie it together with the asset liability.
Public knowledge let's just use, she used Alan Gray. It's public knowledge what you go through somebody here, an advisor, there's a fee. You go through Alan Gray, there's a fee. You go overseas, there's a fee. So, I mean, it's all practical knowledge, and that's what people don't understand. The layman doesn't understand how really, really shocking it is. And what made me thought of it, her bringing up Alan Gray, and then, of course, so many years that you have an investment, you wake up and you've got bugger all.
Yeah. I think that would be. I always loved Hannes Dreyer used to do that, and he was very good at it. He would like take trends over 10, 20, 30 years, and then he would forward it, 10, 20, 30 years. And it gives people, if you say to someone, this is going to cost you $3 and it's 1 year, it doesn't really hurt.
Correct.
Over $30 years, and it suddenly costs you like half your life savings, then people start to realize the impact,
Okay, but I think you really, really should take a couple of examples. I mean, use my bloody stuff, so where it comes from or whatever, ABCD. If you're looking for stuff, they've had it there. All right, I've made the point.
Awesome. No, thanks, Alan. I think that's a great idea. And I think to Debbie's point as well, it's actually quite, you see, the real challenge is, I mean, if you look even today, you take the asset liability modeling, the presentation we give, the deeper you go into this, the more confused people get. Like, I don't know how to, I've got to figure out a way to dumb it down to literally really simple apples and oranges so that people can, and I'm not being rude to anyone. I'm really not. Everyone's intelligent. I get that. But the more it goes into this kind of spreadsheets and analysis, the more most people just go switch off, and then just exactly what the financial industry want, because then it's like, well, I don't know what to do. I don't trust myself. I'm going to give my money to someone else.
It's correct. I mean, I've been, 74. I've worked all my life. I don't know what the stuff's going on. This is a new thing I've had to learn from what's going on here. So you are correct.
Yeah, no, completely. Well, like we always say to people, this is a movement where it's not just our responsibility. As we all learn this, it's our all equal responsibility to be sharing it with others. So, but But yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'll follow up with Anthony
Okay, thank you.
To see if we can do it. And look, I hear you, Shona. I think you're going to really enjoy tomorrow, because you're going to learn about partners. And again, I've learned some very hard lessons in my life. I used to run around looking for property. So I'd go to London as an example. I'd run around London trying to find a good property, and I've just learned it's a complete and utter waste of time. Like, go and find the partner; they'll find the deal 10 times quicker than you will. And so I just think tomorrow you're going to find very powerful in terms of the quality of partners, and how do you find the right partners? How do you choose them? Because what's interesting is you only need 10 good quality partners, and they're going to bring you a good partner. Will be doing somewhere between 1 and 3 deals a year, maybe 4 deals a year. If you've got 10 partners, that's 30, 40 deals a year. That's far too many, more than most people need, So cool. Anything else from anyone else? Shona, you got your hand up? Oh, okay. No problem. Okay. Well, I'm conscious of everyone's time, so I'll wrap it up for today. I'll see you tomorrow. So tomorrow is all about partners. It's all about risk. You're going to meet the Calio private equity team, and you're going to be talking or listening and learning about how they find partners. Remembering that when you're managing hundreds of millions of dollars and they still go and look for partners, that should be a good lesson as to why you shouldn't be doing it yourself. So yeah. Cheers, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, it's a beautiful day here, so now it's boat time.
Enjoy it, Scott. You so deserve every minute of that daytime with John T that you're going to have. Have fun.
Anyway, cheers, everyone.
Awesome day. Ciao.
Bloody freezing here.
Oh, look, I lived there for 9 years. We all make our choices.
Can't help it.
Anyway, cheers, everyone.
Bye.